And good evening, and welcome to this live edition of our 9-year podcast, episode 289. And Nick Draburn has, he's left me in charge, which is completely dangerous, as everyone will know. But as you can see, we're a little late. For those of you watching us live, we're a little late, and that's down to Rob Boyce, who's basically, I think, fallen asleep. So you'll see a blank slot there. That is basically our sleeping Rob. And when he comes on, we'll all give him a nice round of applause for that. But until then, as you'll see, we were joined.
Oh, please. When I say we've got to. We've got to give him a good cheer when he arrives.
Proper round of applause, and then ask him every question that he's not prepared for, which is always fun. So, as you can see, we are joined by Mark Hendrick. Mark, good evening.
Good evening, Stu.
So, do you know what? I'm just doing a little bit of... Mark, obviously, is a little bit advanced. You're in the future, so technically we finished, Mark.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Well, no, I mean, how long is this podcast? Hang on. This podcast is still going, so it's over an hour. Yeah.
And also we're joined by Spike Budding. Spike, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Good. So I thought, do you know what? Wherever you're watching in the world, or listening in the world, actually, do you know what? It's really weird. So, in Dubai, it's 10:52, obviously where Mark is in lovely Switzerland, 8:52. San Salvador, 12:52. There's loads of places. Well, of course, there's loads of places because we're around the world. And of course, if you're in Sydney, down under, it's actually already Friday. It's 4:53 in the morning. And if you're up at this time of the morning, what the hell? But anyway, there's a little bit of our world tour. So what we're going to be discussing tonight. So, everything Wimbledon. What's been happening in the world. Fleetwood coming up on Saturday, probably one of our biggest games of the season. Lots of stuff happening around. BBC London did a We Are Wimbledon on Wednesday evening, which had Mark Bowen, Hannah Kitcher, and also Edmund Black, I believe, from the South London Press. Let's go with that first in that case then. Spike, I know you listened to it sort of on demand. BBC London have dedicated quite a bit to us recently, haven't they?
Yeah, I don't really know what's going on there. I mean, it seems like there's enough other London football that they shouldn't be giving us quite so much. I don't know whether that's the pull of Aaron Paul, but yeah, a whole hour just on AFC Wimbledon was unexpected and a nice change.
Definitely,
Mark. You caught up with it as well, didn't you?
Yeah. I can get the on-demand stuff. I can't listen to it live. But it was an interesting chat, that's for sure. And yeah, you're right. There is a lot of attention coming our way, but that's because of the predicament we're in, right? I mean, it's the first time in our history that we might be going down. So that's a story in its own right.
Yeah, and I was lucky enough to be on BBC London when they did a last Wimbledon. And I chatted to, I think, Nick, who does the show, and it was interesting. That's right. And it was interesting when we were chatting because I think it's obviously, from the outside in, Wimbledon is a unique club in terms of its fan owned, where it comes from, being reincarnated and stuff like that. And it felt at the time that Nick was asking quite a lot of questions about how would we feel, how are we feeling being in relegation, potentially not winning and stuff like that. And I felt, Spike, that was the angle they went again with it on the show. As if, and it is interesting when they're saying like we're having a little bit of a blip, which is probably a polite way of putting it in that way. But do you think they're trying to get a bit of an understanding just as much as we are? Because we really don't know what's going to hit us if we're not lucky enough to get out of the trouble we're in. This is new territory for all of us, isn't it?
Yeah, there's going to be AFC Wimbledon fans who have never even seen their club being relegated in their lives. Because you can be an adult and have watched Wimbledon your whole life and never seen them, only ever going up. So it does seem strange. There's the whole discussion about whether we've slightly taken the fact that we are a team who's never been relegated for granted, and whether we almost see ourselves as slightly bulletproof and invincible to the spectre of relegation, which realistically it affects most clubs at one point in their life, especially if they are working on a budget like we are, which is always tough. But yeah, to think 7 months ago, I would be sat here talking about the fact that we were staring our first ever relegation really hard in the face. I would be very surprised to think that. Edmund Brack from the South London Press, who was on the show, he described this as potentially the biggest Great Escape, I think was the word he used, which firstly, I find that slightly offensive given that the Great Escape is already trademarked from about 3 years ago. But to think that we're 4 points off, so I know there's less games, but we were 12 points off and that was an actual Great Escape. This would be a continuation of us somehow fudging our way to staying in the league, I think, rather than us turning around our form.
Mark, it's interesting what Spike's saying there, actually, isn't it? Because the Great Escape. We go back to Wally when we had Rambo, and to be fair, we had that game at Bradford, which was quite comfortable in a way, in a 0-0 draw. Bradford were not great at the time. Well, it wasn't comfortable watching it, but realistically, they didn't really do much. Do you know what I mean? There wasn't really any swings and roundabouts.
It was the duddest dud rubber matches I've ever seen in my life. It was boring as hell.
What do you, in terms of, what is this? Is it because, let's be fair, Mark Bowen's had 7 games. Interesting listening to him when he said he's been here 3 weeks and he's had 5 games. It's mad, isn't it, in terms of that stage? But what is this? Is it a Great Escape, or is it, I don't know, daylight robbery? Because let's be fair, if we get out of this, the clubs around us are going to be like, how have they even? We got to do a miracle now, realistically.
But they would be saying the same from 3 years ago when we did the Great Escape. How the hell did we get out of it? We just got out of it through grit and determination.
Yeah.
At the moment, the situation, unfortunately for me personally, is that we are dead and buried. We're gone. Good night, Vienna.
Yeah.
And that kind of attitude is something I've kind of taken over, certainly for the last, I would say, when Crewe equalised, that was when I just went, right, we're done. For my own mental health, my own wanting to, because they always say that it's the hope that kills you. If you take away the hope, nothing's going to kill you, right? So I might as well just be happy and live it in. Here we go, Nick. Bliss. So I'm gonna take away my complete 100% emotions from hope and just focus on the actual facts in front of us now. We are in a very, very strong predicament where, let's say, the next match on Saturday, it's an absolute must win. If we don't win, we are gone. Absolutely, there is no mathematical way for us to stay up anymore. So,
yeah, definitely. And just quickly, whilst I'll be Trevor, just me sharing the link around. Please bring your comments in. We really, Mark, Spike, and myself are really keen to know what you are thinking. And the first question is what is this called? Is it the biggest daylight robbery, the greatest escape? What would you call it? And what are your thoughts going into Fleetwood? It's interesting, Mark, what you were saying actually with the Crewe game, because Mark Bowen, I felt he was very honest, and I think one thing that I've sort of picked up from Mark Bowen is that he doesn't really fudge it much, really. Do you know what I mean? He's quiet. He says what he thinks and stuff like that. But one of the things really that struck me was that he was saying that after the Crewe game, he thought that was it. He went to bed. I think like a lot of us, with a lot on the mind, going, what have we just seen there? Because let's be fair, we were, I wouldn't say we were ever in control, Spike, but it felt like we were on our way to a win. But let's be fair, we know through historically that we struggled to hold on to leads, but equally we were playing a team that, and I hate to keep saying it, had lost 29 games in that season. They hadn't scored 3 at that point. But he said after that, actually, do you know what? I thought we were down, but then after Wickham, total reversed. Is that just a sign of this team that is literally inconsistent?
Yeah, inconsistent is about the word, really, isn't it? You look at how we started the season and it was fantastic, and then we sort of just from nowhere started to trail off, and then it just went worse and worse and never got better. It's the Crewe game. I actually wasn't able to follow the whole thing. I was having an MRI on my hand, which was more comfortable than watching that game.
Thanks for clearing that up. That it was on your hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was having a check just to make sure. Why am I still following Wimbledon? But yeah, God, I mean, it never really feels comfortable anymore. I remember there was the Sheffield Wednesday game at home when we were behind. I just remember thinking, oh, we'll get one back, and then we'll probably get another one. It'll be fine. But now it feels the other way. Like we had Cheltenham where we went 1-0 up, and I never felt comfortable with that. We had Crewe where we went 1-0 up.
Yeah.
And then it's now 3 games in a row where we've gone ahead and not won. We've thrown away the most points from winning positions in League One or in the Football League.
That was unbelievable. Wasn't it a case where we'd actually thrown away more points than we actually had on the board?
Yeah. Which is, maybe it's a thing of having a young team and starting fast. But even if you could keep half of those points, we'd be fine. But at this point, we wouldn't be being featured on BBC London. No one would be talking about us. We'd just be sat here thinking, oh, am I going to bother watching the game against Accrington because it doesn't mean anything? It's just the last game of the season. But the way that we are, we very rarely have it. We had that last year, which was a bit of a miracle, but realistically, we don't get it.
If I may quickly.
Yeah, of course.
And that's you just said something, Spike, that really got to me was that that no one would be talking about us. Oh my God, I yearn for that actually.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Just I mean, yeah, we're the greatest story in football and it's all lovely to hear it. But I think I'm now getting tired of it.
Yeah.
I just want to watch some football.
And a win would be nice as well.
It's interesting though, isn't it? Because
right.
we talk about the Great Escape. I've said many a times, and I'm actually on a show tomorrow with. This will make you chuckle. So about a month ago, I was on with Gillingham fans, Morecambe fans, Fleetwood fans, Shrewsbury fans, with Gabriel Sutton on his, and we were discussing the relegation battle. Gabriel, bless, it was my fault actually. I will admit it's my fault. I said it'd be great to do this near the end of the season, wouldn't it? Not thinking that we were going to be anywhere near it. And of course now, and actually the Shrewsbury fan hasn't been invited because they've got out. He's like, "What's like? Where have you gone?" So we're doing that. But I did say on that. Actually, we're experienced to this. We're used to it, as you were saying, Mark. Do you know what I mean? It'd just be nice to not, I suppose, not be a story. Is it a case sometimes where it just wears you down? Like some people have said, let's just go down. Let's just win.
I'm absolutely exhausted from it. Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely exhausted from it. I mean, at the end of the day, it would be nice to have a mid-table obscurity finish to a season.
Yeah.
Kind of akin to the season 2014-15. It was nice to be kind of mid-table, just not really fighting for anything. And then, and then 15-16 is when we got promoted, right?
Yeah.
So that was. I was thinking actually. When we lost to Morecambe, of all teams, at home on that promotion season, I was thinking, right, another season of mid-table obscurity, we're done. But then obviously we went on that charge and it was great fun. But the story, I think, of us not being ever relegated is also a massive monkey on our back because every team will have gone through a relegation in their life, and it's inevitable. It isn't. I'm going to sound a bit like Nick right now, but it is an absolute guarantee.
Yeah,
everyone's going to get. There's always going to be a situation where someone's going to be possibly relegated unless you are Manchester City and bankrolled by lots and lots of oil money. But point is that I think maybe it would be a good reality check for us if we did get relegated. I think. I actually have no qualms about being relegated. It's just the manner of which we have been relegated, if we are by Saturday evening. That's the thing that upsets me the most. The manner in which we capitulated so badly.
Do you know what's interesting, though, is that I agree with that. I think, but most clubs that get relegated, something's gone wrong. Of course, on the pitch. But you tend to find that a lot of clubs that get relegated, something's gone wrong in the background. that contributes that, and sometimes over a period of time. Dubtronic, thank you for all the comments. Got quite a few coming in. So League One has been hell for our club. Struggle and churn. Let's stabilise in League Two and build up our foundations again.
Can't agree more.
Build an identity. Spike. Do you know what? That actually strikes to what I think we've been saying, and I know I've been saying for a lot. We don't have an identity. It sounds stupid because, you know, we class ourselves a great story in football. We class ourselves on our fan owns, but identity-wise, maybe we have that. But I've been saying to you, and also 9 Years TV for quite a while, we just don't have that identity on the pitch. We keep moving, don't we? Do you know what I mean? It's quite an interesting. So stabilising League Two, that's a very interesting thing because realistically, are we going to go in there and storm the league? Unlikely, isn't it?
We're not going to storm the league if we go down. It's just there's a lot of strong teams coming up who are probably more likely to do that than we are. On the identity thing, I think, a lot of people look at Wimbledon and they go, fan-owned, really strong in the community, so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, we are a football club. And that means that a strong part of your identity needs to be how you play as a football team. And in the last 4 or 5 years, we've gone through. We've had Wally and Glyn, who were 3-5-2, were fixed on that, and hope that we sort of get. Oh, hi, Rob. Nice to see you.
We should be giving you a round of applause.
Hey!
Lost my trail of thought there.
Rob, to be fair, welcome, mate. I've been talking about you the whole way through because I reckon you'd fallen asleep.
I fell asleep on the sofa.
Yeah, I do it.
How you are the biggest fan of Bowen in the world.
Yeah. So Spike was just saying how much you still think we're going to stay up, and he keeps putting your money on it, Rob, as well. And sorry, Spike, I've stopped you in full track then, but we had to make sure
I cut myself off there. Just had to welcome our esteemed guest.
Anyway, Rob, we're talking about football, Wimbledon, all things Wimbledon. Spike.
That's disappointing. That's not the reason I joined.
Go on, Spike. If you can find your trail of thought after Rob arrived half hour later.
We've gone from 3-5-2, Glyn and Wally, and then we've sort of, I suppose we were a pretty rigid 4-2-3-1 passing style of football under Robbo, and it seemed like we were playing it didn't seem like we were playing really great stuff at the start of the season, and to see that and hoping that we could carry that forward, you could say, okay, if our identity can be of a passing, young, quick team, that's great, but also that's very hard to do, and it proved itself hard to do when people maybe teams caught on a little bit of how we were playing, or just the head started to go. We had issues with injuries and all that kind of thing, and ultimately, unfortunately, Mark Robinson left, and we're now sort of back with more similar to what we had before, where we've got the famous low block. We have a more defensive style of football.
You're being part of the bus, as Nick will correctly defend.
Part of the bus, however you want to put it. Yeah, Catenaccio style of football, which isn't as great to watch. At the moment, it's not getting much better results. But I think Mark Bowen is playing with the hand that he's been dealt, which is not a great one. And he's trying his best to get results. Maybe we've got more points than we would have had before. We will never know. But I just hope that whatever league we're in, I hope that we can put the structure in behind the scenes as well as on the pitch to establish an identity which we can build on and keep consistent for as long as we can, and hopefully it will be a success.
Definitely. So, Rob, I've given you a chance to wake up, mate. So, what do you think? It's an interesting thing, isn't it? Mark was saying previously that it wears you out. We strive for a season where we're not a story, where we just in the background we just chug along, mid-table, dead rubbers. We don't nothing on these games, but we don't have that. Are you a one that we go down, stabilise, and the end of that story from Dubtronic, that comment from Dubtronic was build an identity? What are your thoughts? If the worst does happen, what are your thoughts?
It's a hard one to judge with Bowen because he's coming on, obviously inherited someone else's squad, but then this has been the tale of being in League One. You know, Wally inherited Neil's squad, Glyn inherited Wally's squad, Robert inherited part of Glyn's squad, and so on and so forth. So it's a hard one to judge because obviously he's come in. You know, we're playing a 3-5-2 low block similar to Glyn Hodges and Wally, and it's
He
hard
said
to
it again,
know.
Nick. He said it again. Nick.
But it's hard to know if it's a needs must situation. Obviously, he's come in and got basically 7 cup finals to go, didn't he? When he came in, and what is his long term plan or long term structure? If he was to go down, what does a League Two side under Bowen look like? I've been told from a few Reading fans he's a bit more adventurous at Reading. From what we're seeing at the moment, so it's a hard one. It's a hard one to know, but I do think that if we go down or stay up or whatever, there needs to be structural changes at the club. I do think we need a director of football personally, and I would like to see a head coach come in. Obviously, it's quite clear we need to get a new CEO. And obviously, recently there's been a couple of Don's Trust board changes this week. So it does feel like we need to shuffle the pack behind the scenes a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. Do you know what? I was just looking. Actually, this is the one with Doug Trike again, actually, where I'm hoping we appoint a sporting director, technical director, that can give our club some framework, plan, guidance over a longer term. Despite fans' criticism, we need a process as a fan-owned club. Do you know what? On with these, I think we're going to go sideways and move along, but it's quite an interesting thing to bring through. Obviously, with the Don's Trust board and the co-op that have been announced, obviously Graham Price and our own Anne-Marie Godfrey, who we will now, of course, be asking for all the information. Not that she'll tell us, because of course things are secret. But Mark, there's going on to you. There's a lot to do, isn't there, over the summer, and it is that just by there's so much to do. Mark Bowen said in his interview that having some talks, just not serious talks, but what's going to happen next season. But until that, we've got so much behind, an interim CEO to start off with, Mark.
Isn't it perhaps going to be a bit too much to do within one summer? That's my worry. Because you alluded to it earlier that there's a lot of times when clubs get relegated, they've got a lot of problems behind the scenes as well. There's no shirking from it. There's no hiding from it. We do, right? There's been a huge change that suddenly took effect. I think, actually, to be honest with you, it started more or less. The feeling of the feeling that the changes were all happening was when Joe Palmer announced that he's leaving, and that was kind of the beginning of, whoa, hang on, there's kind of that the dependency on the board level, the upper boardroom level, the stuff that we needed to have that security and whatnot for the same person who's running through it. The fact that he left before the season ended was a big question mark over my head. Still is right now. That kind of made me go, well, why could they not have waited until the end of the season?
Yeah.
Okay, the stuff on the pitch was bad at the time, but it's not necessarily the CEO's fault for what's going on the pitch. So he it kind of encompassed that kind of turmoil, for want of a better word. So we've been dealing with that turmoil. Now we've got to kind of sit down at the end of the season. Whether we survive or not is neither here nor there. But we need to basically just fix the administrative side of the club first, and simultaneously, possibly, hire Rob's number one choice of coach, which would be Mark Bowen, or we've got to find someone else, right? So, what do we do? Do we, and this, I revert back to the point of, hopefully we'll appoint a sporting director or technical director and then get a high head coach. That's already a load of different jobs to give. Do we want to necessarily go down the route of having that much of a mess of organizational mess before a season has started? Or do we just want to have a little bit of stability first, find out whether we're going to be in League Two and be hopefully mid-table League Two, or if we're going to be in League One and hopefully mid-table League One. And then that following summer, do the restructuring of how the coaching system is going to work.
Definitely, and we've got
Oh,
quite.
if I may, sorry,
Go
one
on.
last thing, and that was I noticed that Nick Draper made a comment that his ears pricked. Thanks, Nick. You are a prick. Anyway.
Well, anyway, I'm sure Nick's ears will be pricking up even more now, bless him, with that. And
I had to.
George, there's so much going on, guys. And also, just before we quickly go in there, we've got quite a lot of people watching. Whilst we're on this subject, what do you want to happen in the summer? What's your priorities? Because we have a lot, and I agree with you, Mark. There's a lot. There's a lot to do in the summer, guys. I'll offer it over to Spike and Rob, who wants to come in first. But what would be your priority in the summer? Would you do it all? Would you do a little bit? Who wants to go first? What do you think is a priority now? Manager, get CEO done, wait a little bit longer. Where are you with it?
You know what? It's a tough question, so I'm going to let Spike go first.
It's got me thinking on my feet here.
What's your gut feeling? There's no right or wrong answer to this. I don't think I know either.
God, it's impossible, really, isn't it? At the end of the day, it does partly come down to finances. Like, it would be great if we could go, yeah, let's get a top CEO and let's get a really good experienced director of football and let's get a brilliant head coach or fantastic manager, and then while we're at it, why don't we sign a whole load of great players and then get a fantastic scouting network on board? It's like we can't do all that. But the more I see things develop, the more I think we have an interim CEO is the likelihood that he's going to carry on in his role. Probably. We have, I'm not sure what Mark Bowen's official role is. It just manager until the end of the season? Is he a
I believe
caretaker
so, yeah.
manager? We have a caretaker manager for ostensibly a caretaker manager.
I think I'm not too sure how it was announced by it, but yeah, realistically he's here to the end of the season, isn't he? So yeah.
And are we going to think we want to set up a recruitment process to find out who's in place and go through interviews and everything like that? Or are we going to go, well, we've got this guy in and he talks a good game and everyone likes him, or it seems like the players are getting on well with him. Will Nightingale came out and said that he's a big fan of him and Eddie. I don't know if that's him talking because he wants to keep his manager on his good side or what, but I'll take it at face value that he thinks he's a good coach, and I've heard good things about both of them as coaches. So do we think, taking that into account, maybe we go, we've got a head coach / manager, we've got a CEO. Let's leave that for now. Let's look at the more overarching structure, and is that a director of football or not? Maybe we don't have the money for a director of football. Maybe we need to look at reinforcing the recruitment panel and getting some more experience on that, which I know would not make a lot, or rather would make a lot of our fans not very happy. But maybe that's what we have to do. We have to keep pushing down this P word model, which I won't bring up because that really does rile some people. But maybe that's what we need to do.
And just interestingly, actually, Hilsey, I saw this question come a little while ago, but it's probably the right time to come in. So, Hilsey, thank you. We need to keep this side together as much as possible. We have a young, promising squad, and we need to build with it. We are clearly a good side. We are getting results fairly against good sides. Come on, you Dons. Rob, that's interesting, isn't it? Because my concern is that if we don't get some stability and some idea who's going to call the shots, we've got a football board. I think we openly agree that recruitment has been a real struggle, but we go into the new season either with that or with a manager doing that. And actually, we talk about Will Nightingale there, Spike, but his future's sorted. He's got a 3-year deal. Good luck to him on that. His future personally is sorted, and we know we got him for next season. But there's a lot of players out of contract. Who can we talk to them at the moment? Because do we know what style of football we're going to play? Do we know what budget we've got to play with?
What league are we going to be in?
Yeah, so Hillsy's got a great point. I want to keep this side together. And Rob, I don't know if you've had a chance to see the South London Press, Edmund on BBC London. I'm not too sure if you listened to that yet.
Yep, no, that's
but one of the things that he struck me about actually was he doesn't think Jack Redoni and Aover South stay in League One. Sorry, in League Two. If we get relegated, he doesn't think we stay. And mainly it was because of the standard. Now, Jack Rodoni, we know, has had interest, and we wouldn't be surprised to see him move on this summer. But actually, we want to keep our players. What is that so important now? Actually, that the CEO doesn't really, got an interim CEO, keep that going. We can't change everything so quickly, can we? Because are we going to get every decision right, Rob?
No, we're not going to get every single decision right, because we've shown that over the last year, the amount of mistakes we've made in recruitment and, footballing decisions such as Selenari, Palmer, and so on and so forth. It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because I do see a lot of people on social media saying, let's stick with Bowen. He's here now. He can be the one who can sort out contracts, and he's working with the players, and he sees them day in, day out. But then at the same time, if we weren't to win in 7 games and we were to get relegated, could you not make an argument that it hasn't worked? I mean, for example, to flip it another way, Glenn Hodges got 11 games in a row without winning until he got sacked. People were saying, Robbo should have gone about 10 games ago. So until he was sacked. So what if we don't start League 2 or League 1 off well next season? Well, we won't be in League 1 if we don't win in 7 games. Will people then all of a sudden be questioning, we've made a mistake here? And the thing is as well, we've got a shorter summer window because of the World Cup. We kick off in July, which is mad.
I forgot about that.
Which is mad when you think we end at the end of May, end of April or beginning of May, and then we're already kicking off July. So, pre-season will be going on in June. So it really is a quick turnaround. And I can see the argument why you think, let's not change the manager again, and let's not go looking for a CEO and ripping up the whole recruitment process and looking for a director of football, because it's too much in a short period of time. So it really is a tough decision for the board and the footballing decisions at the club. And like I said, I'm not 100% confident they'll get it right because of what's happened on and off the field this season.
Yeah, and I'll open this up. It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because these positions are not like minor positions. They are key in any business. These are key decisions. I don't know who wants to go with this, but Mark Bowen, on his interview with BBC London, interestingly said that making substitutions, he's gone a lot on what Rob Tuvey and James Oliver Pearce have provided, because he hasn't had the time to get on the training ground. You could argue Robert had the same problem of actually getting out on the training pitch and putting stuff. So Mark Bowen's hit nothing different to what we've had already. But what interestingly he said was that he's asked for their opinions because they've seen him a lot more. And that's it, because, technical strengths and stuff like that. And sometimes you have made different decisions. I didn't see that as a criticism of the coaches, because equally we all have different opinions on what we see. But he said he probably wouldn't have made those decisions based on what he then saw. So equally, I suppose, Mark, I'm probably asking you, if that's his weakness, we can't surely then allow him, with all due respect, to be looking at who we keep, because he just doesn't know the strengths. He's not been here long enough, Mark, has he?
You've lumbered one hell of a loaded question on me.
That's why I picked on you, Mark. But it is though. How do we make these decisions?
You know what? The same can be said for any kind of business, right? So a new CEO comes into a bank, sits down, he realizes that the financial director has done crap and embezzled money left, right, and centre. So he doesn't know who to trust on the left, right, and centre. So he's got to have some person who's been working there for some time to be able to trust them to say that, what's going on. So let's put that back into footballing terms. He's turned around to Rob Tuvey and Oliver Pearson and James Oliver Pearson and said, look, but that's just substitutes, right? That's in the match, in the heat of the battle. I think come the end of the season, he will have a rough idea of what kind of players are in front of him. Our squad is so small that it's actually going to make very much of a difference, I think. At the end of the day, I think there's a handful of players that I think he should. I'm pretty sure that everyone on this panel will agree. The names certainly Chislett, number 1, Zach Robinson, number 2. Woody to a certain degree, number 3 as well. These are the guys that you want to keep at the club. Whether their contracts are all expiring, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Believe so. Yeah, I think we're on. Yeah, I think we're with that. Yeah.
So those three are, from my perspective, are core players to keep a hold of. Then you've got your assets. We've spoken many a time in the past about, or I've certainly heard, and you guys have discussed on 9 Years Live on pre-match and everything like that, the sellable assets of clubs, right? Of our club. And right now, we've got two that are really sellable assets, which is Asal and Rudoni.
Yeah.
No one really takes into consideration of Hartigan. No one takes into consideration that Paul Canabai is actually a sellable asset because he's a solid defender.
He's a big sellable asset.
Yeah. Choo. Right. So that's the beers talking.
I knew it was dangerous having you on Mark with a beer.
So the point is, we've got those sellable assets. I think it would be nuts not to cash in on that. If you are Mark Bowen and you've got the job for next season, it would be nuts not to cash in on that. Mark Bowen's also clever enough and experienced enough in the game to get top dollar for every single player that he's going to put on the market. He will not be pulled over the table at all. He won't be, with all love aimed at the board that have made the decisions on recruitment and sales and everything like that in the past. They have not got the absolute experience that Mark Bowen will have in terms of what he values, let's say, Jack Rudoni at. For all we know, in a month and a half time, if Mark Bowen wasn't there and some team came in and said, we'll pay £1 million for Jack Rudoni, I'm pretty sure the club would jump at it. If Mark Bowen's a clever man, he'll turn around and go, are you kidding? At least 1.5. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right. That gives an extra 500,000 straight away in the hand, right? So you've got that extra money, and that's where you can start to build that team that you want to have in your vision throughout the summer. If we're prudent enough with the finances through the saleable assets, I don't care. Avram Grant can come to our club and be manager for all I care. We will have someone who has got the money to invest into the next squad.
Yeah, and to be fair, Avram Grant will struggle because the tubes are on strike over the summer. Yeah, I don't think he'll be getting his train ticket. Well, if he does, it'll get a bit cheaper. We can't use it. Just quickly, Zach Thompson. Zach, good evening. Well, actually, no, good afternoon. I'm sure from memory you're down Philadelphia way or that way, as if I know where America is.
Isn't he up further north?
I'm not too sure now. I think he's definitely around where John Green is at. Sort of. I don't think it's Philadelphia, actually. I think I'm being totally... But anyway, wherever you are in America, I think it's mid-afternoon. So
Minneapolis, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's
Minnesota?
where I think. Yeah, I don't know where I got Philadelphia from. I think I was just thinking about a film. Anyway, it's in mid-afternoon. Yeah. So, Zach, thank you very much. And like I say, I don't think I'd call it inconsistent. We've consistently been not good for the last 4 to 5 seasons. We've gotten in League One with a fluke season. As much as I hope we can get safety, we don't deserve it. Rob, interesting, isn't it, when you think about a fluke season? Zach, I don't disagree. I think we sometimes do a bit of a discredit to Neil Ardley, who got us in that position, and also our best league position, and he's doing it with Solihull Moors in the National League. Not that I'm advertising for Neil Ardley to come back and join us. Where are you with it? In terms of, I think Mark hit nail on the head, and what I've been thinking: do we know what our players are worth?
No.
Because Rob, let's be fair. If I said to you how much would you sell Ayoub Asal, I've gone on record with people going, I reckon we easily hit 1 million, 1.5, possibly 2. If you look at what else has been sold around in League 1, League 2, but if someone come in for a bid now, Rob, with 1 million, let's be fair, we're all a little bit like eyes in the headlamps. We'd all take it, would we not?
Yeah, I believe we would, especially with it's no big secret that we're a bit short on money being fan owned, and with building the stadium, having to raise bonds, and if you waive a little bit less money than a player is worth, do we have the nerve to hold out and demand more? I mean, we've made mistakes in the past. In my opinion, we should have sold Deji or Shalaja and we kind of held out for more,
Yeah.
allegedly. And they, the team who came in from walked away, and then we lost Deji for free. And I worry we might end up doing the same with Jack Rodoni, for example. He goes into the last year of his contract in the summer. Teams know they can, wait out for a year if we can't agree a price, or they know that they can test us with,
But that's sorry, Rob. That's a two-way street, though, right? That's a two-way street, because Rodoni would then turn around and he would be basically shafting us, and he knows that. And I don't think he would do that to us, right?
You would like to think not, but a footballer's career is short, and if they wait out for a year, their agents in there, and they're like, you know what, you can get double your salary if you wait out and go for a free transfer.
Surely it's a different matter, though, from a kid. And let's be realistic here. He started with us from being a kid, and has been all the way through our academy through to now, rather than Adeshi Ojalaja, who came on a free to us. He doesn't give two shits what's going on with the club. So I think
it's it's an interesting one, and Rob, I don't know where I sit, because you're right. Do you know what? Is there any loyalty in football? And we're not, let's take Jack Rodoni out of the situation here, Rob, because we don't want to say an individual.
Yep.
But is there any loyalty nowadays? Me in the football world, his agent would be, that agent would be in a player's ear. And let's be fair, we've had players, Lyle Taylor, who was with us the other week, who see out their contracts. They do it all the time, Rob. Sorry to come in. But yeah, I think, I'm not too sure about the loyalty. I'm worried about it.
The only thing we're basically banking on here is that he's one of our own. But Lyle Taylor was a legend, and he left for free. Pigott was seen as a bit of a legend for the amount of goals he kept, and he left on a free and got double the money. Well, arguably even treble the money elsewhere.
Supposedly rumoured, yeah.
Rumours. I've heard all kind of crazy figures, 8 to 12k a week. Who knows, but. It's an interesting one. It's really gonna test us in the summer. And like I said, we don't have. I spoke on the 9 Years live like a couple of months ago, worrying that we're going to hit the self-destruct button by, people were calling for Joe Palmer's head, so Joe Palmer goes. People were calling for Robbo's head, Robbo goes. But we don't have a lot of football experience. Them two were the only people, in my opinion, who had the football experience in terms of, Joe Palmer's been at Sheffield Wednesday, Shakhtar Donetsk, and Robbo's been in football for, he's been with us for 18 plus years. It's a big decision in the summer. And do I feel confident we'll get it right? No. And another reason for me is we got 300 grand for Ollie Palmer. I think we left it very late in the window. We didn't have someone lined up, which we made a mistake on. But then after that, they went and bought a midfielder for 500, 600,000. I can't remember who it is. But I'm like, hang on a minute, a striker's worth more than a midfielder, in my opinion, especially if they're scoring goals. That's always the most important thing. And it makes me question, hang on, could we have even held up for more there? If they're paying 600k for a midfielder, again, I can't remember the name of the player. But
time was running out in the January transfer window for that.
Well,
time is. Yeah. I was going to say, time is running out on Jack Rodoni's contract.
He's got a whole year after this one.
It's interesting, isn't it, Spike? Just to bring you on there, where are you on that? In terms of decision-wise, do you think we just make? Because actually, Rob, do you know what? You've actually brought a good point, which I didn't think about. The January window is a panic window. It's known as a panic window. You get loads of late deals. The teams that are down the bottom want to sign players. The clubs that have got them know that the team's desperate, so they sort of. Do we need some experience on there? Because Don Trust Board have just increased their numbers to 10 with Amory Godfrey and Graham Price. Graham Price has probably been brought in for his financial and governance side of it. Amory's got so many. Let's be fair, she's a referee. She does all that sort of stuff. Boo referees. But where do we need to get some priorities here, don't we? Very, very quickly now.
Yeah, I think the point about having football experience within the club is massive. Like Mark said, if someone comes in with a bid for a sal, I would say a first bid is probably going to be. I heard something about someone bid 150,000 for him or something stupid like that in January.
They've missed out a zero and they come on.
Yeah, exactly. But if that's the kind of, maybe they're obviously just chancing clubs will chance their arm with us, because they'll see, they've not got much money. We can now see their CEO's left. He had lots of football experience. Their head coach has left while he had limited football experience outside of the club. He had been in football for 20 odd years. And then you look past that and you go, well, you've got Mick. I keep calling Mick Buckley Mickey Buckles, so that's not his name. But
it is now.
Oh, that's gonna be so explained to do when you come to see us next time.
Mickey Buckles.
Sorry, you're going to be lumbered with that conversation, mate.
Thank you for that.
You're getting sacked, Spike.
Sorry. Mr. Buckley, the esteemed Mr. Buckley, has got experience in a CEO capacity, is my understanding, but not within football. So if he has someone come in and go, well, hang on, you got this player for free, and now we're going to offer you £600,000 for him cash over the course of 3 years. And then they go, well, that actually sounds pretty good. Our outgoings on him were pretty low. And we can get a good lump sum that I'm told we can invest in a lot of other players. But while that might look good, it's not close to market value. And that's where the football experience really comes into it. So that's more than anything what I think we really need to be focusing on.
I think other clubs are looking at us like some sort of DFS sale now on, with our structure and finances. I think they're gonna try their luck, given the fact we are got all the distress and warning signs that we're struggling financially.
The reason I laugh about that so much is because DFS have always got a sale.
So do we, Mark.
I don't think DFS give many of their sofas away for free though.
Yeah, and also you don't want to buy one get one free either, do you? Let's be fair with that.
Definitely not two sofas. We've had enough wardrobes in our.
Oh, I keep setting this up, Mark. I keep setting this up. It's interesting. I think Spike might just said it about friends of football. I think in the pyramid, I don't think there's many friends. Yes, we had Wickham come down, and I think the notes Mick Buckley said that we had a good relationship with them. But I tend to agree. I think we've all said along here that people will be looking at us think as fans we think we've got some structural challenges, but also clubs are going to chance their arm because there's no friends in football. Everyone eat dog, isn't it? Let's be fair. Do you know what I mean? Everyone looks after themselves. Can I get the best deal? Can I nick a player off a club that's not doing so well? I just want to quickly say, Chris Draper, great news. Seeing Ashley Hinks from the AFC Women Ladies aside for another season. And the current climate, do you think it's worth sticking her up front versus Fleetwood? I don't think she's got a dual registration, Chris. But great news for her, and it's really good for Ashley for signing for another season. The reason I linked in with that, Rob, AOSL, League 2. I heard some comments, people saying that actually, do you know what, he's getting wiped out in League 1. We saw that at home to Wickham on Saturday. Do you think we should keep him in League 2? Do you think... Because people say it's a bit rougher in League 2. I tend to disagree with that because I think the standard is actually higher through the pyramid. Would you, if AF says I want to stay and we get a decent bid, would you want to keep him? Because what could he do in League 2?
Controversial opinion, but no. And the reason why is because he's just got an England under-20 call up. He's got 2 years left on his deal. He's going to be worth more than if he's got 1 year left on his deal. I think, personally, you go down to League 2, the pitches aren't as a good quality. They're a bit more bobbly and whatnot. It's a bit more physical in League 2. And I personally would like, if a decent offer comes in, obviously, to sell him and reinvest it in 2 quality forwards, because that's what we have really been lacking this season. We've got young wingers, Dylan Hergy, for example, coming through. And this is what we need. We need to sell our academy products and then bring the next one through. But I think we need
no money. Sorry, we got no money in the past for our academy products. We always went to tribunal.
Toby Sibbick?
Yes. But he was already in the first team by then when we sold him.
Still an academy product though. Sold him for 200 plus grand.
No, sorry, you're talking. Sorry, then maybe we got our wires crossed there a little bit. But you're talking about players who haven't made first team appearances yet, versus Toby Sibbick, who was actually quite fundamental in the final part of the Great Escape season, where he had done quite a handful of, and he scored against West Ham. That raised his price a little bit. But if you're looking at Ajay Hersey versus Sibbick, Ajay Hersey hasn't really made an appearance for us yet. He's still an academy product. We get screwed every single time that we go to tribunals for sales of academy products.
What I was saying, Mark, is I would sell a Sal and bring Dylan Hergy through to Wimbledon to replace him.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Then we
use that So use that conveyor belt, Robert.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, and then I would use, personally, if I was playing Football Manager, for example, use the money to bring in 2 quality, experienced centre forwards, because I just think
Put cheat mode on.
But I think that's what we've been lacking. It's so obvious we've been lacking. And you know, I listen to Darryl McAnthony's podcast quite often. One of the big things he said about getting out of League One is you need a 20-30 goal striker. And if you look at them when they had Ivan Toney, what happened? They got promoted. If you look at Morecambe, they look like they're not going down because they got Carl Stockton. You look at us when we had Lyle Taylor, we got promoted. If you look at us when we had Joe Pigott, we avoided relegation. What's cost us this season? No goals up front. You know, Ben Hennigan alluded to it in his post-match interview recently. And I just think, personally, if we can get good money and sign 2 experienced or quality centre forwards, because you know you can't rely on one because they might get an injury and whatnot. And like I said, then I'd bring through the next academy product, and Dylan Hodges on the bench. So it's a
really interesting point, actually, because I listen to Darren McAnthony podcast quite a bit, and what their model at Peterborough is that they buy potential, but they spend money. So. And one thing that was interesting, I don't know whether anyone's aware of this, but they may bid, say, 500,000, but they spread that over a period of time. So they do instalments over the contract. Because what they bank on is that they will improve that player, and then when the next instalment is due, actually, they might be in a position to make quite a bit of serious money. So it's a very much hedging your bets. It's done on a good recruitment, that side of it.
Do we have that system, though?
No.
Do we have that system in place where we can improve already players to purchase? I don't think we do.
No, I don't think we do. But the argument, the interesting thing of it is that I'm sort of where I would like to see, me personally, being a football fan, I'd like to see Ayer be in League Two, because I think he would destroy it with the right service.
I think he would get wiped out even harder.
And that's the difficult thing, isn't it? You know, are the referee standards any better in League Two? You'd argue probably not.
No, I think they're more or less the same.
Well, yeah. I suppose the argument is, and I'll go to Spike on this one, if we did sell, and let's not use a player, but let's use just anyone, if we sold a player for a decent amount, should we reinvest that money? So should we go, I've heard some people go, we need to put 6 figures on a transfer fee, go out and get that forward. You know, there's some in non-league at the moment. Do we make sure we now start spending some money to then look at, because we can supplement with our kids, but actually if the kids are doing really well and they are sellable assets, let's sell them right. But should we start being a bit more, I suppose, a word of interest in the transfer market, Spike?
Yeah, there's the old saying that you've got to spend money to make money, and obviously that's what Peterborough do. My thoughts on this is kind of, that seems like the way that we were trying to go. In the summer, you look at the 2 main signings we made were Luke McCormick and George Marsh, both of who are 22, 23. They've come from elite academies, haven't quite made the grade there, and have come down to us. So really, you'd be looking at them and thinking there's an argument of whether they've improved this year from last. But certainly we would be expecting we'll improve them and then sell them on, and then use X amount of money to buy the next lot, whether that's from above, who haven't been quite good enough for that, or whether that's from below, being the non-league somewhere within that pyramid. So yeah, I think that's how we have to do it. We have to maybe start it off with selling the likes of Rudy or Sal, who I would hate to see go, because they're both great and they're basically our only 2 creative outlets in the whole team now.
In the system we play.
Yes, I should also say our 2 main creative threats. We have other. Luke McCormick's brilliant, but Rudy and Asal are our 2 best ones. But if we sell one, we were to get 1.5, let's say, million quid for one of them, then that puts us in a great position to go and buy I won't give names, mainly because I can't remember many. But buy
Hi, I'm Mark, by the way.
Yes.
I don't have name tags.
Let's get that going next time. But you know what I mean. Buy someone exciting from non-league who's not proven because they're playing in non-league, but they're smashing it up. They're scoring a load of goals. They're getting bags of assists. They're whatever it might be, the metric that we use to analyse why we're signing them. But get someone exciting. It wouldn't be exciting to someone who follows the Premier League and goes, oh, they're signing some kid from non-league. But for people within the club or around where we are, they go, you know what, that's an exciting signing. That could be a really good one for them. And hopefully it will become one.
You know what, Spike, that's following on from that. If we signed a couple of experienced forwards or a couple of forwards who have been bagging in goals in non-league, it would also increase season ticket sales for next season. If you knew you were getting, say, 2 15, 20 goal a season strikers from non-league, the Joe Pigotts of Maidstone, for example, coming in, like I said, that would generate excitement. So I do agree that you have to spend money, to accumulate on that side of things.
And do you know what's interesting, actually? Just quickly saying, Anthony Papayes is saying Nassau will be stronger next year. Yeah, he's 20, going 21. Those ages we know from ourselves, if we can remember that far back, me especially, that your boy does start to develop that sort of side of it. And also, if you look at our young players, let's not forget. I don't know if we've seen that Jack Curry and David Fisher, both in the Conference South, have been put on the shortlist for Player of the Season. And I know Jack Curry. I've heard a lot of good things about him. We've also got the same Bider coming out. Alfie Bendel at Corinthian Casuals might be too young for him. But Rob, sorry, actually, we have to go to Mark on this one. Even though we may potentially hit relegation this season, could you argue that we've probably other seasons we've gone and we've known we're going to lose Tom Elliott, Joe Pigott, Lyle Taylor. We know we're going to lose them. We've tried to get them in, tried to get their contract sorted out, but with no chance. But, with the work that Mark Robinson did with getting some deals on Nick Zanev, Will Nightingale, Ayo Vassal, who wasn't even getting the first team when he come in there, have we hit relegation in a better position? Because actually, we've got assets. We've got, if you look on the financial list, they're going to be valuable assets on decent contracts.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, maybe that was Robbo's parting gift to us, putting us in a much better standing than we were in the past. I agree. Come on, Stu, you and I, we've discussed it enough times. The amount of times that you have really chewed my ear off in the stands going, can't believe we're losing him on a free at the end of the season.
How frustrating is it? How frustrating is that?
Yeah, it is. It is absolutely frustrating. But it happens across the board on League One, League Two. It really does.
Yeah.
To shed loads of teams. They lose. What was the name of the Rochdale striker? Henderson.
Yeah, he went to Salford.
Ian Henderson?
Yeah, went to Salford, yeah.
Yeah. I'm telling you, the Rochdale fans were livid that they let him go. Because he still is banging in goals for fun.
Yeah, and Rochdale struggled this season probably because of that.
Precisely. So, it happens across the board. But maybe Robbo did help us on that. Maybe you're right. I think you are right, even. I think, though, again, we can't be fixated on Assal and Rudy. They are our highest worth assets for sure. But anyone else under contract, going to be really rough here and say, this season has been such a disappointment on so many different levels. But I think every single player under contract is a sellable asset right now. And they have to a certain degree. Sorry, Rob, go on.
I was going to say DFS mock.
DFS.
Yeah, but they get rid of end of life. They get rid of life.
Sales always on. Sales always on.
Yeah, but those sales are normally at DFS, and of course other good sofa places are available. They normally get rid of like end of line stuff, don't it? These are kids. Do you know what I mean? Like...
But let me just revert back though, and I know you made a light comment out of it earlier, Stu, but Paul Kalambai, he's a damn good defender. When he's on his day, he actually, I would rate him on the level with we would never lose against any team in the world. Shocker, if he plays the full 90 minutes. But Paul Kalambai is certainly up there, being one of our best defenders when he's on his day. Why aren't we ever bringing him into the conversation of this?
Yeah. But you know what? I think there's a lot. The thing is, Mark, I think you're right. I think there's a lot of players though that are performing really well, and sometimes we take it for granted. Paul Cannon-Baye was basically Arabassal's minder on Saturday against Wickham. Literally every time a Sal got taken out, Paul Cannon-Baye. But you know what? I don't know about you, Spike. Just thinking about it. I don't mind that actually. Do you know what? Because if you look at Wickham at the end of the game, let's be fair. I've never seen Bayo move so quickly. He went through the gears quickly to get in the tunnel. Which we looked like there was a little bit of aggro. But I don't really mind that though. Do you know what I mean? With Paul Cannon-Baye. But he is let's be fair, he's an absolute massive unit, isn't he, Spike?
He's a unit. I remember when he was coming through and he was still looked fairly big, but then I think it was just the summer he came back and he looked like a different man. Well, he looked like a man rather than a kid, but he looked massive. But yeah, I remember earlier on in the season when there was the talk about the youth in the squad, and he was held up as an example of actually he's more of a leader than you think he is. And I have been watching him when he's been playing recently, and you can see that he's not especially, he's not a shouter or anything like that, but you can see he's always talking and standing up for us, Ayub, which is great because otherwise Ayub's still learning his trade, and he's been known to lash out, or maybe not lash out, but he's sort of, maybe sometimes the mentality is not quite right with there. He's got better with it, but at the start of the season it was a bit of an issue. So yeah, give me more of PK next season. I think he's really good. He's improved, and he's a proven, maybe not proven, but he's proving himself to be a leader.
Yeah. We're going to go into, we've gone just over an hour. We can go for another quarter of an hour. We're going to go into extra times. We need to kick on with Fleetwood and stuff like that. But a few comments coming in. Dubtronic, I know Chris Draper was saying that, the loss of Bass as recruitment boss has stung us this season. Yeah, obviously, well respected enough to get the gig down at Pompey. But yeah, we did get some great recruitments with Bass, and I don't think sometimes we've ever really got on top of recruitment, if I'm being honest with you. I think we've always struggled against it, but yeah, very fair points. Okay, so we go into probably, we could argue say, our biggest game for many, many years on Saturday, away at Fleetwood, which has a lovely chip shop outside the away end, just in case you're not sure. Where are we with this? So the score is basically Fleetwood are 3 points above us, and they have a better goal difference. We've got obviously Gillingham and Morecambe above us, who we actually have got better goal difference on there. It's a must-win, Spike. Yeah, we felt that at Crewe. We felt that at Crewe. Sorry, I was going to say we felt that at Crewe. Can we use that experience at Crewe? Because it's not going to be a big atmosphere at Fleetwood. No disrespect. But that ground never gets great atmosphere anyway.
Hang on, sorry. I just saw a tweet as well. Someone tweeted that they're giving away free tickets to anyone to go. They just want an atmosphere there to create. They also know how important it is. So
yeah, they got both. They got both ends. I'm hearing they've got both ends, haven't they? I'm guessing that's how they're going to do that. Okay, Spike, how do we go into this? Because this is a must-win, but I don't know how you start. I don't know how I'm going to watch it, because do we want an early goal? Well, not really, because we can't defend an early goal. Do we bet our way in it? And also, they were 3-0 down early against Oxford last week, come back to 3-2, and actually had a real good chance to equalise. So they're scoring goals as well, Spike. Hey, look, do you know what? What are your thoughts? Do you know what? As I'm talking, I'm convincing myself out of it as well.
I think, this is a must-win game, but Wickham was a must-win game, and Gillingham was a must-win game, and Doncaster was a must-win game. There's no way we can't win this game. So we've been talking about must-win games for about 3 months, where this is the one where if we lose this, then we are definitely down. But now we are reaching the stage where it's more mathematic than our things to have to go in our favour. So yeah, of course, it's. I would love to know how we're going to approach it, because the nice way to do it would be if we could score one after 5 minutes or so, and then maybe we get another one, and then we get another 1 or 2, and then by half time, the fans who've shown up with free tickets are going off to the fish and chip shop over the road.
If Mark has sent you some beer that he's got, then I'm having some as well. That
this is pure water here, I promise you.
But you know what? It's interesting.
Spike, that's your mistake,
But
mate.
you know what's interesting? When Oxford went 3-0 up on Monday, wasn't it? I didn't see it until I think midway through the half. My gut feeling is Fleetwood are going to get back into it. Just because you just think everything's going to go against you, don't you? In that sort of way, Rob. How do you think we're going to approach this? We were at Plough Lane. We were recording this on Thursday. They were training at Plough Lane, and your comment about the pitch is interesting because we now require a groundsman as well as a CEO, a manager, that sort of side of it. But how do you think we approach this, Rob? Or how would you like us to approach it?
You know what? I would like us to approach it a bit more positive. I felt like one of the reasons we lost to Crewe is because we set up too defensive and too negative, and we gave Crewe, a team which was bottom of the league and low on confidence, we gave them confidence. Because we didn't press, they started passing it around, and then next thing I knew, I thought I was watching Barcelona the way they were popping it around. And albeit there was no pressure on them because they were already relegated, but it really is last chance saloon for us, and I would hate for us to set up too negative and think, oh, what if? But, the fact that we got 1 point out of a possible 6 this bank holiday weekend, if you said to me, we're going to lose to Crewe and get a point to Wickham, I would have said, we're down and out then, that's it, game over. It amazes me that we're still within a slim chance, let's be honest, of getting out of this. We have to win the last 2 games, but I don't know if this team knows how to win. It's been so long now. Can they see out a game? We've had the lead in the last 3 games we've had against Crewe, MK, and so on and so forth. So I don't know if this team knows how to see out lead, but I just hope that we go for it and not sit back and and are too negative, because at the end of the day, it's basically a must-win game. We can't even sit on a draw. You could argue if we were negative and we could get a draw and whatnot. But I just really hope we win, Stu, because I just want to go into the Accrington game with it not being a dead rubber.
Yeah, and I think I was going to say you nicked my thing there. Actually, we have left for the last 3 games, MK, Wickham, and Crewe. We got Anthony there saying we have to attack them non-stop, no sitting back. Mark, my thinking is I don't know whether we do that, because I don't know whether we're good enough to go all-out attack. And equally...
We were at the beginning of the season, though.
Yeah, but let's be fair, the contrast from the beginning of the season to now is unrecognisable, isn't it?
Yeah, very true.
Do we go into that game of staying in it for as long as possible? Because, we are all experienced. We are all experienced, aren't we?
No, yeah, but we've
do?
tried that. We've tried that over the last how many games? How many? In the last 10 games, how many times have we gone in the lead?
Oh, loads. But do you know what? Chuck another one in. Do Fleetwood come for us? Do Fleetwood?
Of course, they've got to win as well. It's gonna. Yeah. You know what? For a neutral, this match is going to be fantastic.
Yeah. I don't like neutral games. They're great when you're watching playoffs. And they're great, aren't they? But not when your team's involved.
I live in the country of neutrality, mate. I mean, come on, right?
But how do they go in? How do they go into it?
They've got to win as well. There's no questions asked about that. So it's 2 teams who are going to be absolutely fighting it out. But I think everyone talks about cup finals. I mean, there are very few cup finals that I can remember that are actually great matches. A lot of them are just set up to be defend. We don't want to lose this. So I think if Bowen's got the right message across, where it's guys, shackles off, I think that might just work in our favour.
You know what, Mark? Just following on from what you said, I don't. I mean, like I said, I don't want us to sit and try to stay in the game, because the minutes will be ticking down. But I alluded to, it amazes me that we're still in with a slim chance of staying up. But I'll tell you another thing, which I don't know if the footballing gods are looking down on us. But Alex Kearns, their goalkeeper, got banned for getting a red card, and then on the weekend, Paddy Lane got a red card. So they're without 2 of their first team players, and it does make me wonder: is the footballing gods looking down on us?
I'm just looking at that, Rob, Because Alex Cairns played against Gillingham. Because I thought that as well.
I thought we got a straight red, and that's a 3-game ban.
Was it a different goalkeeper? I'm just because I was. Do you know what? I was just thinking that because they also got a player sent off against Gillingham as well, which I think was a straight red. Because the actual sending off, because the actual sending off, I don't know if anyone's seen it. It's the most hilarious handball.
Their goalkeeper. Yeah, God, what the hell was he thinking about?
Yeah, do you know what? He got sent off. Yeah, it was him who got sent off, but he played against Gillingham.
There's no way that could have been appealed and overturned. It was such an obvious red.
I was going to say, if anyone wants to see it, I don't know what he said. The sun was in my eye from the coast, and I just had no chance, ref.
The absolute most delayed VAR choice, the decision made ever. In
VAR will still take about a minute to review it.
You know what's true? He got sent off against Accrington Stanley, but then missed the Oxford game, so he must have been suspended and then played against Gillingham. I would have thought that would be a 3-game ban for straight reds, but
yeah, he didn't. Do you know what? Yeah, he didn't play against. I'm just literally looking at it because it just stunned me a little bit. Yeah, he didn't play against.
Hang on.
How did he get one match?
Contact with the FA.
How did he get
in contact with the EFL office? And if they fielded an ineligible player, then we've got ourselves the 3 points that we fucking need.
If anyone listening live is aware of what happened there, because that's probably
where was George Jones when you actually need him? You know, you never need him any other time.
Unless a deliberate handball, is not classed as violent conduct.
Yeah, it might just be the nature of the red card. It's only a 1 game.
Anyway, we're going to set.
Straight red is always a 3.
I always thought that a straight red was a 3, but
2 yellows is a 1.
Yeah.
You know who we need to ask? Anne-Marie Godfrey. Referee.
She won't speak to us anymore.
She won't speak to us now. She won't speak to us now, will she? Do you know what I mean?
She's too busy in board meetings.
El Presidente.
Do you know what? Yeah, I'm just looking. James, just as we wrap up, James Howard, Gillingham will beat Pompey anyway. Well, cheers. Thanks for that, James. We just talked about how we're going to stay up.
You know what? I actually think Gillingham will stay up. I think they will beat Pompey because Portsmouth, they got a game in hand and Pompey's a dead rubber. But I think
so. Therefore, it's between us and Morecambe.
I think Morecambe lose their 2 last games because they're away to MK and Rotherham, and they're both fighting to go up. And 2 away games and a better goal difference. Yeah. I think it will come down to if we were to win the last 2 games. I think we go above Fleetwood and Morecambe and not Gillingham. If it was to all pan out how
you're right. There's some tough games in there. You know, Fleetwood.
I'll send you a couple of these cans over.
Fleetwood have a game in hand. However, their game in hand is home to Sheffield Wednesday in a week, and then they go to Bolton. On the final day of the season, I think if we discussed on 9 years TV, in terms of fixture wise, we have had the best set of fixtures. We've had the best set of fixtures for this. To be fair, the last month, we've not done that. But yeah, James, thanks for no. Do you know what? I think
can I follow up on that?
Yeah, of course you can.
Can I follow up on that? And I'm going to ask you a question now, Stu.
Cool.
Say we are to go down. I mean, as I said earlier, and I alluded to earlier, that I'm pretty much set up with where we go now. Comparatively to how we went down in 2000 to now, which one hurts more?
The Premier League one did hurt. I've never sobered up so quickly in my life. For those that went to the Dell, which, let's be fair, was an absolute death trap, the way it was built, but they had a lovely away end. They had a lovely pub near the away end. I got down there about midday, was absolutely, shit-faced by about 3. Went in, we conceded a goal, and I've never sobered up so quickly in my life. The realisation that we're in trouble. It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because I actually think that season we knew we were in trouble. We had a lot of false dawns. We equalised late against Aston Villa, and also that. But you know what? Really interesting, Mark. Great question. Is social media was absolutely no, because actually I thought back to it actually about the last relegation that I've seen. Some fans have not seen a relegation. The one thing that was different was social media. So there was we kept getting rumours that that Liverpool had equalised and then Liverpool were winning, and we had no idea because none of us had any phones, or we had a phone. You didn't have the internet connection you have now. I think a relegation battle will be different now because let's be fair, at Fleetwood, if we're drawing, we know all of a sudden that more, there's going to be a lot of stuff going around, and as Rob and I were saying on the weekend, that you don't really want to be looking at your phone to see what everyone else is doing to do you a favour.
It's torture, isn't it?
But that's the nature of the beast. So, do you know what? The relegation really hurt because it's the first relegation that I'd seen, and back then the Premier League was it was the golden ticket. Whereas now, a division from League One to League Two is not as big as a relegation as it was.
You know what? Just following on from that, Stu. Obviously, I went to games.
Don't say you weren't born then, because that would just make.
No. I went to games at South. I went to.
He ain't that young.
Nick Draper would try to convince you he wasn't born then, but I didn't. I went to games at Selhurst Park. Obviously, I wasn't at the Southampton game, but following on from Mark's question, as a newer fan, so to speak, relegation for me this season doesn't hurt too much, and the reason for it is because the writing's been on the wall for years. I mean, last season we were saved on second to last game thanks to Robbo. Season before that we were saved thanks to COVID, points per game, but Tranmere were catching us up. Season before that,
Tranmere are going to invite us with open arms, aren't they? Let's be fair.
And then obviously, the season before that, we had the Great Escape. So it's not like we've been in, mid-table playoffs and all of a sudden it's like, wow, what's happened this season? I think it will hurt more for a Doncaster fan who were in the playoffs last season and now look like they're going down. So for me, I think that because the writing's been on the wall for so long, and also I think personally, I wasn't really, like I said, I wasn't around in the Premier League days, but not only was it relegation from the Premier League, but I mean, there was a lot going on and it probably felt like the beginning of the end. Was if you said to me, look, trade League One for League Two, but we're moving to a brand new stadium at Plough Lane, I would have bitten your arm off. That's the way I view it as.
Yeah, and
how do you feel, Spike?
I look at it similarly to Rob. Really, I just think the fact that we've never been relegated is great, but you look at the teams past Sheffield Wednesday, Ipswich, Derby coming down, which is a shame to miss them. But really, once you get into the middle of the pack of League One, it's like, oh, great, you're watching Oxford United or you're watching Wickham and all these teams. It's like, okay, I'd just as well watch Bradford or watch Tranmere, maybe not Tranmere, but I can't imagine we'll get a great reception against them. But you know what I'm saying? Like, there's
Port Vale.
It's Port Vale. It's all much of a muchness to me. The relegation will hurt. I'm sure it will, because that's the nature of it. It's not a good thing to happen. It's about as bad a thing as can happen to your team in the course of a season anyway. But I think we'll recover fairly without too much trouble, I hope.
Just following on from you, Spike, I always view League One as almost like two separate leagues. You got the top half of all the big clubs, like you said, the Sunderland, Derby will be there, Sheffield Wednesday, Bolton, so on and so forth, Ipswich. And then you got the teams in, the Morecambes and the Crews and the AFC Wimbledon. So I think, like you said, once you've gotten past the big clubs or the top half of the table, much of it is much of the muchness. And yeah, I agree with you.
And let's not forget, we've got those long distance, the journeys to Barrow, and of course the one that's the most local one, Carlisle.
Yeah, we've got the easy trip to crack. I get what he was saying. I don't know why I'm defending him on this. I've defended him a lot today, guys. The point makes it's about 3 hours on the train, so it is quite easy. But
trust me, if you've not been to, I don't know if any of you guys have been to Barrow. I had the pleasure of going to Barrow, and if you ever go by train, you get lulled into a false sense of security, because Barrow is via the Lake District. And you go through a Lake District, you think this is lovely, and then it just keeps going and going to the end of the earth, it feels like. And then you get to Barrow. But do you know what? It's one of those grounds that if you haven't been to, go to, because it's an experience on that side. Verinda, as we wrap up, Verinda seeing out the 2000 relegation hurt the most. We got relegated due to Olsen messing with Wimbledon culture, never got over that. Yeah, the Norwegian nutter.
Welly boots.
Do you know what? I actually thought it was a good signing at the time, because we did play long ball football. Norway, it's not like it was now. Norway were gradually improving. They played a lot of long ball football, and they, I'd been to Wembley when we beat them 8-0 many years ago, and they had improved. But Olsen never got the idea of the the Premier League, unfortunately. Okay, so thank you very much all for watching. We've had a really good watching, actually, a base of it, and a good conversation. I don't feel old now that I'm thinking about the 2000 relegation whatsoever. Before we wrap up, let's go through Mark. Prediction for Saturday and prediction. I'm going to be horrible. Prediction for the rest of the season: stay up or go down. Just love loading questions up for him. Mark's getting another beer, or he's playing a game.
No. I went down, right?
So you don't want to say it; you're just going to mimic it. So Saturday,
I love the club. But honestly, I'm so tired of the relegation dogfights. Crucify me all you want. I don't care. I think we're going to lose 2-1 and we're done.
Cool. And do you know what, right? I'm going to quickly go in now. I think we're going to get to the last game of the season because, as you just said, Mark, it's so tiring. Wimbledon are just going to make us suffer. Like, it's going to go down to the final game and we're all going to be absolutely shattered by the end of Saturday. Let's go, Rob.
So no, you can't. No, Stu. Sorry, I'm going to call
there you
you
go.
on that. Go back onto yourself because you started saying, "Oh, we're going to go to the last day," so therefore you got to put in prediction for Fleetwood.
Do you know what? People are going to call me nuts, but I left the game on
You're
Monday.
nuts.
Yeah, I left the game on Monday, and I said to Rob and Spike, "I'm absolutely shattered, and it's the hope that kills you." I was absolutely shattered. By Tuesday, I'm just looking and thinking, well, you never know. Football, as football fans, we're ever the optimists, aren't we? And I don't think about the 26 games we haven't won in.
Stop skirting the question. Make
so
a
do you know what? I think we'll win on. I think we'll win against. I think we'll win against Fleetwood. It'll go to a final game. Accrington are going to come and not want to relegate Saturday. So, hey, look, do you know what? We're going to win both
You reckon?
games.
After what we did to them in the playoffs?
Yeah, but they've forgotten about that. We're nice friends.
Andy Holt has a soft spot for us as well, you know.
I'm not saying, of course, that then the professionalism will not, of course it'll always be that. But do you know what? I'm going to go. We're going to win the 2 games and stay up because I can't. Yeah, Wimbledon, just play with us, don't they? Spike. Mark, can you stop laughing?
Okay. I thought you were reasonable.
I'm a football fan. I live in hope. Sorry, Spike.
Fair enough.
I feel free to keep going because I don't want to make this prediction. But if I have to, I mean they've been building up to this game. Has probably had more build to it. We've had basically a whole week of training. Mark Bowen's making it out that it's the biggest game of our season, which it quite rightly is. So I'll go the same. I think maybe we finally sneak a win. We break that duck. But do I think that results will go our way? I'm gonna say no because I want to manage my expectations and my own.
It's the hope that kills you.
It's the hope, and I can't handle it. I've got enough stuff on my head at the moment. But yes, we'll beat. I think we'll beat Fleetwood. I think that we're not going to keep that run going. But I kind of wouldn't be surprised if we're still down by 5 o'clock on Saturday.
Nick
One
Draper.
thing about this is that we've had to beat Fleetwood in the past to stay up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we also
but that
beat
might
them.
not be enough this time.
We also beat them in the semi-finals to get up into the playoff game at Luton.
They owe us one.
Oh, they do. But anyway, I'm not thinking of that. I don't want to think about them. Nick Draper, if we go down to the last game, we stay up. Yeah, I get that. Finishing at home. Anthony Hayes staying up. Party at Plough Lane. Oh, what a party that would be. Crikey. That would be a party and a half.
Getting
I'd be gutted to miss it, I tell you.
That's right. We're FaceTime you. Yeah, and also Richard Farrell. I think we'll win both and go down. Cheers.
I think
that
we'll
would
both go down.
Do you know what? But the thing is, do you know what? It's out of our hands.
It's
Out of our hands.
possible.
You know, that's not. I appreciate your honesty, but that's true. You know, it's out of our hands. We could win both games and still go down. But that's the beauty of football. Anyway.
Hey, at least we would have seen a win in 2022.
Yeah, you know what? From a selfish point of view on the 9 years TV, we haven't had a win since we started. And also Chris Thorpe, who's obviously new, I don't know what his official job title is now, communication and stuff. He's not had to deal with a win. He's had some really tough things to do. So, yeah, let's just get a win. But I don't want to win both games and go down, though, Richard Farrell. I don't want...
You know what's mad, Stu? I've been looking at the league table, and you know when you're doing all the maths in your head, and it's we could even get 4 points and stay up. It's like, it could be this, it could be that. But, you know, for me personally, I felt like when we played Wickham, both teams needed a win, and I thought, this ain't going to end up in a draw. And it ended up being a draw.
Yeah, I said
and
that,
against Fleetwood, and I agreed with you. I thought, you know what, that's spot on. And I think to myself, you know what,
don't listen to me, Rob. That's the key.
Well, I never do anyway, mate. But against Fleetwood, it could be the same. Both teams need a win, could end up being a draw, and then we might even stay up on 4 points. Who knows? I just really hope. I really hope we take it to the last game. But you know what? With Mark Bowen, the performances have been improving, and you do think a win's coming. But what does scares me is that Crewe result. I went up to Crewe and I did not see that coming at all. And I just really hope we don't have a repeat performance of that, because that really frustrated me.
Boy.
Definitely.
So
Definitely.
I think if you ask me, I think we're going to get 4 points and we're going to go down. Draw.
And obviously, I think the last comment's quite a good one. Verinda, one was I die. It's in the script, as we know, with Neil Ardley. Great way to finish that. Guys, thank you very much. Really enjoyed it. I don't know if I'm any more confident now that we're going to stay up. I don't really know, to be honest with you, but it's been great. Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Next time I'll bring 3 beers.
And next time I'll be on time.
Well, to be fair, it looks like it looks like Rob's forgotten to put a light on.
Yeah, you know what I have, you know. I want it to get darker and darker. I was actually getting the light on.
I'm an hour ahead of you. I could have given you that warning.
And as Bayo said at Accrington, I'm from Hackney, we play in the dark. So,
there you go.
You know, there's nothing wrong with
in
that.
the dark.
Rob, thanks for joining us.
Cheers, guys. Always a pleasure.
And Spike, as always, mate, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Cool. So, we go on to Fleetwood. Hopefully we're going to have a 9 years live TV for the Accrington game.
I don't know whether I should admit this. I'm not actually going to be watching the Wimbledon match on Saturday. I'm going to FC Zurich.
Sometimes it's better like that, to be fair. Mark.
True.
Yeah.
I'm going to switch off all notifications. I'm going to go watch FC Zurich. If they beat Sion and Basel lose, they've won their first championship since 2009. So it's a bit, do I not?
So basically, Mark, you need a lot of results to go in your favour these last.
But do you know what? I won't say with Mark. I did say who they're playing. They're playing young boys, and I made a little bit of a joke about are they always young boys? But if you want, I'm not going to tell you the full story. But have a look at where they play. Hilarious, hilarious. I cracked a stupid joke, and Mark just absolutely added to it. I hope you enjoy yourself over there.
By the name of that stadium, I hope they
hilarious. So, Joe, what? Whoever named that team and made a stadium are absolutely having a bubble, and they're absolutely hilarious people. Great club. But yeah, so thanks for watching. Thanks for, if you're listening on the podcast, thanks for listening again. We are back next week, and hopefully we are previewing a bumper tie at home to Accrington to stay up in League One. Thank you all, guys, and good night. I'll try and find a way of ending it now. Here we go.